Today's video is actually going to be a bit of a mix, as it's both a beta video and a myth video. The reason for this is because the myth of the haunted paper mill is actually a part of the beta. First of all, let's get a bit of an insight into this haunted paper mill. In the final game, an NPC by the name of McInnes can be heard discussing a paper mill which is supposedly haunted, and the Bullworth Police Department are too scared to enter the building because of this supposed ghost. According to McInnes, the ghost actually resides in the attic of this paper mill.
Hey there.
Good day.
Anything going on?
As long as there ain't no more accidents at the mill, I'm happy.
Hey, you. How are you?
There's gotta be some clues. Maybe it was an old Indian burial ground or a pet cemetery.
Hey, you.
Do you believe in supernatural stuff? I heard the paper mill might be like a portal or something, you know?
Yeah, some chick.
You hear about the paper mill? I heard it's got some strange stuff going on, like the graveyard, but worse. Now, you ever seen a ghost?
Never had time.
This goddamn government won't do nothing to investigate the paper mill. They say supernatural occurrences ain't their department. I'm sick of getting the runaround from the cops. Why can't they just have the balls to go up to the attic of the mill?
However, this haunted paper mill cannot be found in Bullworth at all. So I'm going to spend the first part of the video discussing the paper mill and revealing any leftover files I may or may not have found. And then I'm going to spend the second part of the video discussing the possibility of this ghost myth being real. Because McInnes lives in Blue Skies Industrial Park, it's more than likely the paper mill would have been found around this area. Possibly around this area to be exact. It is worth mentioning that in the final game there is a sawmill, not a paper mill. But this sawmill can be found but not accessed in Blue Skies Industrial Park. I'll cover this a bit more later on in the video. Now of course this is the only in-game reference we have to this supposed paper mill. So where would we find more information about it? The game files of course. The first place I went to look was actually in the ambient sound files, as surprisingly there are a lot of unused files for all kinds of areas that seemingly don't exist or were drastically changed in the final game. Sadly, I was unable to find any files for the paper mill in the ambient sound files. The closest files I could find were the sawmill audio files. The second place I decided to look was in the area per box and exit lock files, as they often have leftover coding for this kind of stuff as well. I mean, these files still have leftover coding for Bullworth Academy's third floor, which was removed before Bully's first trailer, so it'd make sense for them to have leftover strings for a paper mill or something. And sadly, once again, there's no leftover coding for the paper mill in any of these files. At this point, I'm starting to wonder if the paper mill was even a beta building or not, because with other beta stuff, there's usually quite a lot of info to back it up, be it more in-game quotes from other NPCs, game files, or trailers. But the paper mill only has one minor NPC quote and that's it, like nothing else to back it up. However, I recall seeing Andrew Wood's portfolio. In case you don't know who Andrew Wood is, he created a load of environmental assets for Bully during its production. Specifically areas around New Coventry and Blue Skies. And Andrew actually had a picture of a few beta buildings on his portfolio. I'm not saying Andrew had a picture of this paper mill on his website, or well, at least before it was taken down anyway, but I certainly do not recall seeing this building anywhere in Bullworth. Could this be the beta paper mill, or could it be some generic beta building? Also, I noticed a slight Easter egg on the building. You know, the R with a star behind it. In typical Rockstar fashion, they had to reference themselves again. So even if this isn't the beta paper mill, we've just found a beta Easter egg. It's worth remembering that McInnes is a very, very minor character in Bully. That minor, his voice actor, isn't even credited. So it's highly likely that the voice actor of McInnes was given a very early script, recorded most of his lines in a week or so, and then he was done. Also, it's worth remembering that there is deleted audio in Bully that will never be heard, like the original Welcome to Bullworth cutscene, where the only remains of this is in the ambient sound file and it's all garbled. Who's to say more major characters didn't have lines regarding this haunted paper mill, but these lines were deleted early on in Bully's development. Or possibly, the voice actor for McInnes was never meant to specify the paper mill, but he did anyway, as some voice actors tend to improvise on their lines, like adding a word or two that isn't on their script. A bit like how Stephen Ogg improvised a lot of his lines during GTA 5's development, like the infamous Fresh Meat cutscene. Anyway, I'm getting a bit off topic here, so I'll move on. As for the ghost myth itself being real, I cannot help but feel that this is Rockstar making a slight reference to the previous myths in their previous games, like the infamous CJ's mom's ghost in GTA San Andreas, or the ghost of Elvis in GTA 3. Much like how the rumours of these myths began, they began by people on the internet saying how they encountered a ghost at this very specific place at this very specific time. Which in a way sounds like McInnes saying how this ghost can only be found in the attic of this paper mill. And at least with McInnes' comments, the player had a little bit of in-game confirmation, rather than some random person on the internet providing some poor photoshopped image of a ghost, or a video in great quality which ends up being a screamer. But then again, even if the paper mill did exist, these people would still be making fake images and jump scare videos of the supposed ghost. In closing, I believe the paper mill did exist in a very early builder bully, but the myth of the ghost might have been considered at one point, but nothing ever came of it. Or possibly the paper mill was an early version of the sawmill, which is a lot more likely, as you could probably bring the paper mill back by giving the sawmill a small retexture or something. However, if this is the case, then it proves that the sawmill was never meant to be entered to begin with, thus making the ghost myth entirely false from the beginning. I guess this beta place, or myth, or whatever you want to call it, just comes down to your own personal thoughts on it, just like ghosts in the real world. Please don't argue over that on this video, please. There's probably some ghost caught on camera video you can go and argue on instead. So that's really it for this video, and thank you for watching.